Detective Jason McMahon's cell phone rang again at dawn. He didn't have to answer to know what it was about. A new murder, the fifth one. He picked up the phone. The coroner informed him that the lifeless body of a woman had been found in a lonely forest. The cause of death, a heart-breaking wound in the chest from which the heart had been removed. Again, the same modus operandi. Everything pointed to the same criminal. A case they had been working on for months and for which they had no clues. He got dressed and headed to the police station. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, a car pulled up onto the side of an old highway. It was a young couple who used the night to escape prying eyes. "You could at least put on some music," said the girl to her companion. "Come on, Valerie, don't be a party pooper. Let's enjoy this moment, just the two of us," he replied. "Of course, a very romantic moment while your girlfriend is quiet at home without suspecting that her beloved Tommy is cheating on her," she reproached him. "Oh, come on, I already told you she doesn't mean anything to me. Besides, she's also your friend, and I've never heard you complain about the other times that—" A loud bang over their heads interrupted him as if something had hit the ceiling. The young couple got scared when the car began to shake violently. Tommy grabbed Valerie's hand to reassure her, even though he didn't know what the hell was going on. The shaking continued for a few seconds that seemed endless until suddenly everything stopped. "What was that?" He looked at her, turned on the lights, and gathering all the courage he could, grabbed the door handle and got out of the car. Everything was dark except for the area lit by the car. He looked at the ceiling and around him, but saw nothing strange. Only a black feather swaying in the wind before his eyes. But it was just that, a feather. He turned and got back into the vehicle. Valerie's face couldn't help but reflect the fear she felt. He was about to hug her when claws appeared before them, hitting the car's window and cracking it. An instant later, and with no time to react, the glass broke into 1,000 pieces. Two hands emerged from the wreckage, seizing the young man and pulling him with violence. The push was so strong that Tommy crashed to the ground several meters away. As he tried to sit up, he finally saw his attacker. He swallowed. He couldn't believe what was before his eyes. It looked like the figure of a tall, skinny boy with white hair and crystal blue eyes. Huge black wings hung from its back. But that was not what overwhelmed him the most, but to see that its body was a canvas with human bones painted on it as if it were fully tattooed. Valerie was screaming from inside the car, but Tommy was unable to move. Totally paralyzed, he watched as the stranger leaned into the vehicle and grabbed her by the arm, dragging her out and pulling her to its side. It brushed back a lock of hair and leaned over her. It moved closer to her ear to whisper something and kissed her on the forehead. Her last kiss. The creature raised its arm towards the sky and dropped it an instant later with violence. It was an accurate blow directly to the young woman's chest. She didn't even have time to scream. A murmur rose from her throat, drowned in blood, but she could no longer move. Tommy watched the scene dumbfounded, unable to believe it. He watched as the attacker pulled something from inside Valerie's chest. A lung. But that was not what it wanted. It continued to search inside her body, breaking bones and removing meat while she grew increasingly pale. At last, it seemed to find what it was looking for with so much desire. The heart. It grabbed it with his right hand and began to pull it away from her body. It looked down at its own chest, where it opened a wound and gradually introduced a new organ there. Then, it started rummaging through its pants pocket with its bloody hand until it got a needle out. The creature began to tug at Valerie's hair, plucking several strands, took the needle, threaded it with her hair, and started sewing the wounds on its own chest. Suddenly, something approached the car. It was a dog, somewhat neglected, who sat on the ground and looked at the boy. When the creature noticed its presence, it interrupted its macabre ritual. It got out of the car, knelt down, and patted the animal on the head. The dog turned around and continued its way. At last, the sinister figure turned his attention to Tommy, who was still paralyzed. It slowly approached him, and when it reached him, it bent down and brought his face close. Tommy saw the recent stitches made from his friend's hair right where its heart was located. Valerie's heart. A tear slid down his cheek. The stranger watched him closely and cocked his head curiously. It reached out and wiped his wet eyes. Tommy, without hope of saving himself, stared at the attacker. He noticed how it placed its hands on both sides of his face, leaning over him and leaving very little space between their faces. Finally, in a sad tone, it eased Tommy's suffering by whispering, "Do you value your heart?"
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, and if you want to see more Draw My Life videos, subscribe to our channel. See you in the next episode!